Welcome to episode 114 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Katie Brooke. We'll get to her in a little bit, but first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
What's happening, man? Yeah, it's been a little bit since we did a release. We had Thanksgiving happen, and the whole Hopkins household here has gone through the flu. I apologize for my voice. I'm still kind of dealing with a little bit of congestion happening. But we're doing okay. I will say that the flu is no joke, man. And no, we're doing all right. Everyone here is mending, and a lot of fluids. Not a lot of food, but a lot of fluids.
Got to get that Pedialyte flowing. Yeah. But it's definitely been, I don't know, I think we did like every 2 or so weeks the last month or so. But again, between the holidays and then all the sickness going around. But yeah, it's officially December. It's crazy that the year flew by as quick as it did. And 2024 is right around the corner already.
I know. I can't believe it. I mean, other than that, the interview we're about to have is amazing. We recorded this a while back, and Katie was great.
Yeah. Let's jump into it. All right, everyone. We're here today with singer-songwriter Katie Brooke. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Katie. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I, for one, am personally excited. I know I mentioned earlier, but you are officially my first Australian artist interview. Brian has done the heavy lifting of the rest of them. So glad to start with you, and then this will be fun.
Yes, exciting. And I think I mentioned too, this is my first US podcast interview, so Can't wait.
Nice. So I guess I kind of already gave it away. We always like to start with where you're from, where you grew up, how important music was, like in your childhood, all that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm an Aussie girl. I live in northern New South Wales, so over on the east coast. I'm actually really close to Byron Bay, which is the most easterly point of Australia, just for reference. But yeah, I grew up here. I am a farm girl, so I grew up in the country. My family have a beef cattle property, and I moved around a fair bit in my 20s and then realised that I really needed to be back here. This is where I love to be. After trying cities and bigger towns and beach towns, I thought, you know what, I'm a farm girl. And so came back here. I grew up on traditional country music, and it's been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, really. My dad used to just play heaps of Hank Williams and Patsy Cline and Jimmy Reeves and all the greats. And my brother and I was actually just thinking about this earlier. We just used to fight over CDs. We had all of the 90s country, all the greats, Brooks and Dunn, Tim McGraw, Clint Black. And that was my life. And I wanted to be a singer as early as I can remember, and went to vocal lessons and did all of that, and it all unfolded. And throughout my teenage years, my career kind of started then, because my family would take me to festivals on weekends, did the Academy of Country Music here in Australia, which is held in Tamworth. So that's kind of where you go to start learning about how to get your foot in the door. Walked the red carpet at 16 years old at the Toyota Country Music Awards here in Australia. So it kind of all unfolded early, and then it kind of lulled, because I kind of thought, yeah, it's going to happen. And then throughout my 20s, I kind of relaxed a little bit too much. Like, I still did a lot of gigs. I did a lot of cover gigs, like endless. But my songwriting, I wrote songs, but I didn't work on things. I kind of just let it unfold very organically. So I got to my 30s where I am now, and went, I really need to start working hard on this career and make sure that all of these miles that we've put in are worth it. And there's really nowhere else I'd rather be. I just love doing this. So yeah, this is where we are today.
I think that's cool. It's a little like
taken back, I guess, from my standpoint. You know, when I grew up, it was like country music was like a U.S. thing, right? And you know, it's kind of, so I guess where I'm going is, was it just on the radio for you guys, like for that, especially that like traditional country?
Yeah, not at all. That's what I'm so grateful for. And I've been saying this so much lately. It's only just in the last even 5 years, 10 years at max, got really popular here in Australia. Now country music is the cool thing. But back then, I remember getting picked on all the time. Oh, you went to a country music festival on the weekend. What a loser kind of thing. And here's the hillbilly country girl. And, you know, I did pick on my dad because he liked Patsy Cline and Hank Williams. And I used to say, that's really old music. But now, obviously, I love it. And I loved the popular kind of Faith Hill stuff. But yeah, we grew up, it was just that my dad had the CDs and there wasn't a lot on the radio back then. Yeah. So we were just lucky that he loved it.
How did he stumble upon it? How did he stumble upon it?
Well, I think just being a country person, I think only country people liked country music. So we were farmers. My dad was a farmer and my mom, you know, she grew up rurally as well. So the stories and everything behind country music, that's kind of what it's all about. Yeah,
for me, it was, you know, I grew up in a smaller town, in a hick town, we like to call them. And for same type of thing. I mean, country music, it was popular here, but it wasn't popular for like high school kids and stuff like that. But I grew up with it, you know, and I joke about it all the time. Like the first time I heard like a rap song or something like that was like when I was like 18 or something, and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And me too. So, and again, it was like that type of thing. Like I was the kid wearing a cowboy hat in high school that was just awkward, you know.
I feel that.
But now it's like a cool thing, right? In high school and stuff, like everybody walks around in like cowboy boots.
Oh yeah. It's so cool now. We're so cool now.
Yeah, I definitely would have been the one picking on you and making fun of you. The same, but kind of the same thing. So I'm born and raised in New Jersey, just outside of like the New York City, like concrete life. So it wasn't popular until, like you said, the last like 5-10 years really kind of blew up here. Especially like I'm trying to think, and obviously you would know better than I would, but like other than like Keith Urban and is Cam Australian?
I don't think so, actually. No? Oh, no? Maybe.
I don't know why I thought
unless she's like New Zealand or something, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. But even still, even if it is those two or just Keith Urban, we don't really see a lot come across this way. So it is good that it's getting more popular and, you know, now we have these outlets like podcasts and Spotify and all that we can share internationally now.
Absolutely. It's such a great avenue.
Yeah. So New South Wales, I want to go back to that. So Sydney is obviously in that region. But you said you're more north. So are you closer to like Brisbane?
Yeah. So I'm only 3 hours south of Brisbane. So just to put it into perspective, whereas to head down to Sydney, that's towards the bottom of the state. So I think it's like maybe 10 hours drive.
Oh, it's that far.
I think so. Possibly 8 to 10 hours. Yeah. So that's kind of where everyone's heading to write and play and, you know, be a country music artist. They head towards the Central Coast and Sydney. But now Brisbane's kind of growing as well, which is really good. But I think I'm still one of the only ones that chooses to live rurally, like out in the middle of, not in the middle of nowhere. I'm still quite close to the coast. But yeah, I still live on a farm and everyone thinks that's a little crazy. But I don't know, it just kind of works as a songwriter.
Yeah. So I have been to Australia years ago and I flew from Sydney to Brisbane. So that makes sense that I wouldn't have driven if it was that long. But
fair drive.
My favorite part of the trip, and I should have pulled out all my journals and stuff, but we spent 2 nights on a farm kind of more north. Like we left from there and went to the Great Barrier Reef. So like, definitely more. I forget what
North Queensland.
Yeah, I forget like the farm and all. I should have pulled it out, but those were hands down the two best days of the trip. Like we
It's
were in
beautiful.
Sydney, but like, nope,
Yeah.
like we're in the middle of nowhere, in quotes.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, Australia is a very beautiful country, especially in those more rural areas. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. In saying that, I've always wanted to go over there. So one day I'm going to head over. Yeah, I just love it. Love everything about the culture.
Nice. So the Australian country music scene as a whole, what is that? I mean, you kind of mentioned people are starting to go to like the cities and especially like Sydney. What does that scene look like, especially being immersed in it and being local to it?
Yeah, it's grown a lot too. So same thing in the past 5 to 10 years, it's gotten so much bigger. I remember growing up in my teens, we had Tamworth Country Music Festival, which you've probably heard of that one, and Gympie Muster, which is above Brisbane. And they were the two main ones. But now we've got CMC Festival popping up, which, you know, has a lot of international acts. I know, I'm trying to think of the big names that went there last year, but yeah, it's really, really massive. And it's just absolutely, yeah, it's just gotten so much bigger. And then you've got a lot of little festivals coming up now as well. So it's great to see it grow. And you don't really realize till you get to Tamworth or one of those big festivals where, you know, most of the artists, probably 80% of country artists are going to be at that festival. And it's huge. It's such a massive community, and it's quite supportive, which is really nice. I think it's still small enough for everyone to kind of know each other and be really supportive, and a lot of people co-write and a lot of people, you know, support each other during their tours and things as well. So yeah, Australian country music is looking really healthy, and obviously we're inspired by what happens in the US as well.
You use the word community, right? So that's such a important, just for anything, that's such an important thing to have. And you know, here Nashville, as big of a city as it is, it's still a small town in regards to that. So that's definitely got to help and be a safety blanket, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Like knowing that you have that around you.
Yes, definitely. And to share how you're going in your career, because it can feel really lonely, especially if you're not under a big label or have a massive team around you. I know, especially for me living out here, it is my choice and it's great for my songwriting and it's the most inspiring place to be. But often I feel quite isolated and I don't co-write a whole lot. I do love a lot of solo writing. So when I take it to my producer, it's like, oh, wow, you know, let's share what I've written. Let's talk about this. I just want to talk music. I want to talk what's going on. And yeah, things can feel lonely. So it's nice to share with artists, you know, this has been a challenge this year. How have you dealt with this? And all that kind of thing, you know, bounce ideas as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to dive into songwriting here in a second, but Ronnie has our whole bullet point, so try to follow his lead. You had mentioned solo writing, and you know, it's a big country, right? And you said like how everybody's kind of, I'm going to say segregated, but just distance wise, right? There's a lot of distance between a lot of writers. Do you guys utilize like Zoom writes or stuff like that to try to connect in that way?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a lot of Zoom writing going on. And I mean, the opportunity is probably there for me as well. But I think the songs I've been writing in the last couple of years have been kind of that personal solo writing level. You know how you just have some songs you go, yeah, I think I just need to nut this out on my own. And then other songs you go, I really need to take this and bounce this with someone else. And I've actually got a songwriting retreat coming up in a couple of weeks. So I've been getting a bunch of songs ready for that to go, you know, what do you think? What can we do with this? And I'm really, really excited. But yeah, it's,
you know, that's
it just
become,
depends.
Yeah, that's become quite a popular thing for songwriters. In Nashville, they have like the set times, right? You have like a 10 o'clock appointment, and then by, you know, noon or 2, you're out and you're with somebody else. And that works for some people, and that definitely works for the machine, we'll call it in quotes. But then when you have like these real songwriters, and I use that also in quotes, that take their music and they take a bunch of other songwriters and they go out to the country somewhere and they spend 4 days or 5 days and they just work on songs and work on projects. And that has become super popular for a lot of songwriters. And I think it's definitely way more, you have beneficial stuck in my head now, but I think the end product is becoming much better because they're, like you said, they're being immersed in it, right? There's no time limit, they're just completely, surrounding themselves with the song, with the project, and there's no like deadline, right? There's no like punch the clock, we got to be out of here by this time type of thing, and so they can really work on it. You can relax a little, wake up a little later, that type of thing. So it comes a little bit more organically in that manner. But I also love how you spoke about, there's definitely times where you that a song is personal to you and it's meant for you and that you are going to give it its best, vessel as far as like writing the right song for yourself type of thing. So I think that's great. I love the idea of being able to do both, right? And not only being able to co-write and not only being a solo artist. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely think there are all different types of projects. And some we're called to feel our way through and some we're called to think our way through a little bit more. And it depends what concepts I've got going on at the moment. But I've got a few personal ones that I go, I know that I'm the only person who knows how to nut this one out. Yeah. And then there are a few that I go, this is a concept I need to think through with someone else. So,
So those songwriting retreats, is it specific to like just country artists or is it kind of open to, whoever wants to go?
Well, I think there are a few different ones, but this one's a female specific and it's run by country artists. So the women that we're working with, they're really established country artists. So this one in particular will be. But I've actually never done one, so it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be cool. I have another one, not to keep peppering you about songwriting, but so country music has a language, right? There's like things that are, said in country songs, especially popular country songs, trucks being one of them. Do you write in Australian or do you write in Australian?
Because it's a whole different language.
Right.
I think it's a mix for me. Like there are definitely artists over here that are very much immersed in the culture of Australian country and they have that slang, right? But I think because I was brought up on traditional American and most of my inspiration has come from American artists, I will probably, if I'm going to talk about a truck, I try not to talk about trucks, but if I'm going to talk about a truck, I'm definitely not going to say a ute. You know how over here we used to have utes and there's a lot of songs about utes. So I probably would more so go for that. I guess when you're talking like if you're going to sing about the farm life, like horses and certain horse riding technique or tack or different words, some are very American, some are very Australian. I'd probably go for the more American sound. I don't know. There's something more poetic about it.
Right. That's good.
Not even that, but we always talk about like the authentic side of it. So like you could try to sound completely American or completely Australian, and that's just not going to come off right. Like you are going to write for who you are, and
absolutely,
it works.
Definitely. I think I haven't really written any songs that call for I guess I write a lot about emotions and things like that. So that is what it is. It's a universal language for us. But in the terms of like how I sound singing the words too, how they talk about some Australians sing very American. We got that drawl and that twang as well. You kind of have to, sing in that tone, I guess, for country music, because if you sang Australian, it'd sound really yobbo. Not really that funny Aussie sound.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've said this a couple of times too, where, singing is its own language and it has its own nuances and so you can have someone that has a very strong accent in any way. And then when they sing it, you either don't hear the accent at all. I mean, Keith Urban's one of them, since we brought him up, But and your voice too. I don't hear any Australian in it, and actually I was surprised when we got on when I heard it. I was like, oh wow, another Aussie. So yeah, no, I think it's cool, and I love that, in music. I'm not from the South at all. And I used to joke about it because I was in like rock bands too as a singer. And I'm like, listen, I'll sing anything, but it's going to sound country. I don't know why, but that's just how I sing,
Yeah.
Like I'll play Steve Miller, but it's going to be country Steve Miller,
Exactly. And that's great. That's what we want.
Right.
So you mentioned singing about emotion or writing about emotions and all that. I think that's actually kind of a good transition here. So we are going to play your newest single for you, which literally just came out. So why don't you go ahead and introduce that for us? We'll play it and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this one. This is my latest single, Too Far Down.
Dip my toe in empty waters and I start to compare. Tell myself the water's cooler and there's more of it there. So badly wanna swim in this uncharted territory. So badly wanna see how it falls down to the creek. But it's too far down, even in the shallow. Ain't no tiring these limbs, but the banks and the mountains, flats and gullies in between, the soil and the dust have all taken me, and it's too far down, even in the shallow waters. I long for weightlessness, for all I carry and I fall, but it's too far down, and I'm a girl of fire. Can't lose the flames I'm stoking. 1 foot in would be dark. Oh, it's too far down, too far down. Oh, it's too far down, even in the shallow waters. I long for weightlessness, for all I carry and I fought, but it's too far down, and I'm a girl of fire. Can't lose the flames I'm stoking. 1 foot in would be dark. Oh, it's too far down, too far down.
All right, so let's talk about Too Far Down. I guess first and foremost, what was the inspiration behind that song and, getting it out there as your newest single?
Yeah, so I have found it so hard this release to even talk about this song. I don't know, because it just came out of nowhere. It literally fell out. It's not one of those songs I sat down and went, oh, I'd really like to write about this concept. I'd really like to brainstorm this. I just started writing the notes in my phone, the lyrics in my phone, in my notes, and had the lyrics in front of me, wrote the melody, like had the progression going and everything. And then it was done and I was like, what is this really about? So it was kind of in reverse. And I've written a couple of those songs before. And to be honest, they're usually my favorites. But it's a really vulnerable song. And it speaks about comparison and the temptation to stray from your path and kind of abandon yourself and your values, maybe to seek approval or personal gain. And I think it's probably surrounded a lot by my career. Like it's about my career basically. And the challenges that you can face and kind of abandoning yourself to win approval and all that kind of stuff. It's really, it's still hard to speak about. And, but yeah, it's probably one of my favorite songs so far to date.
Yeah, I really dig this song. I was listening to it earlier, and when we got on it with Ronnie, this happens a couple of times a year where I'll stop the song and go to Ron and be like, damn, that's a good song. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you. That means the world.
But so I listen to things in an audio engineering world. That's how I hear the world. And I love the harmonies in the chorus and then the doubling that's happening in a lot of the verses. Super cool, amazing, very tasteful. And I love that the entire song, and I think I always say this when it comes to acoustic sound, is there's more to the emptiness of music or the lack of sound to the song than there actually is in the notes. And you feel that in this song. I'm an acoustic player. I love the acoustic guitar solo that happens throughout that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I didn't do it, but I love it too.
It's such a good song. I connected to it very, very much. So yeah, congratulations. This is such a good song.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. I took 3 songs to my producer, and the other 2, not this one, were a little bit more commercial sounding. And I said to my producer, one of these ones probably, I haven't dropped anything for 18 months. I've become a new mom and all this stuff's been happening. So I've really got to hit it with a boom and bring something really cool in. And then this song just kept niggling at me. And my producer said to me, I think we've got to do this song for your single. And my heart totally said that, because it's got a little bit of bluegrass element. It's really traditional and it's just so me. And I just totally went, I don't care then. I don't care what the charts want, what radio wants at the moment. I just want to put something that is completely me out there. Yeah. And that's definitely this song.
Yeah, I'm normally I let Ronnie talk about his side, but what's good about that? Sorry, is we speak of authenticity quite often, and I would rather hear an artist be authentic and not be the most popular thing on the radio than to hear them fake their way through being popular. You know what I mean?
Amen.
And to that, some of my most favorite artists are not well-known artists for that reason. Is because they write and they release songs that are them and not radio. And to me, I think that's a better artist. That's a better, a healthier fan base to that artist is a fan base that appreciates who that artist is and the type of music that they release.
Yes, absolutely. And I was only speaking to my publicist about that the other day. This is the first time I'm even using a publicist, so it's really exciting. And I said, I don't have really high expectations. And she's like, what? And I said, no, I love the song. Like, I think it deserves everything, but it's already won me over. So anyone else now is an extra. And I love being at that, I guess, because I'm beginning my career. I'm not under a label. I don't owe heaps. There's no layout for me really. So I'm just happy to get it out there and organically find the ears that it's meant to find. I think, as you said, it's just so important. I only want people that just want to be there and listen to my music and kind of, immerse themselves, word of the day, into that music and just want to put it on repeat and want to seek that song out and listen to it. And I've been reevaluating my career the last few years going, where do I really want to go with this? Do I really want to sing about drinking? Maybe I will write a song about that. But at the moment, I'm writing this kind of stuff. So I'm not going to try and be cool and try and get on the charts and lose myself, which is kind of what this song is about, actually. I don't want to lose myself and fall in to depths that are below me. I want to make sure I keep stoking my own flames and stoking my own fire, whether that's on trend or cool or not, and just see where it goes.
Yeah. One of the first things you said about it was, being a song about being vulnerable and the vulnerability of it. And Brian, you mentioned the space in between the music that hits more than I always speak on the lyric side of it, the writing side. And I could say the same exact thing, those empty spaces between words. And there's just something so captivating and it just draws you in and you just want to be there and experience that emotion with you, which is the point, right? So I absolutely love this song and yes, it'll be on repeat with Home Among the Gum Trees for me. So yes.
I love that. I'm so glad to be sitting next to Home Among the Gum Trees.
Yes. But no, this is a phenomenal song and we're going to jump into last year's release in a second, but for this to be essentially the first one back, quote unquote, it's couldn't ask for anything better.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just means the absolute world.
And what's good too is, this is going to sound jumbled as hell, but in the country world now, I think a lot more of the artists are kind of getting away from that like bro drinking country. That's never going to go away because people still love party songs, right? But I think the majority, I mean, you're hearing it now with like the Luke Combs and stuff. They're like, you're hearing a more stripped down and like real instruments type of thing, less drum machines, less 808s, that type of thing. Great. And I think that's really good. And to write your point of like writing to a trend, by the time that song is released and out in the world, that trend's gone, right? You can't really write for today. You're more writing for the future and in anticipating that the world is going to shift to that way, which is like probably the most scariest thing in the world, to release songs that aren't popular right now and in hopes that they do become popular. But yeah, that was my thought. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think to be a bit of a trailblazer, it just shows bravery. I look at like Alison Krauss has been one of my biggest inspirations of all time. No one else is like her. No one else did what she did. She didn't go, well, this is cool, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And there's something about her vocals and what she sings about and what she sings. It's, again, captivating is such a beautiful word. So I guess, artists like that, growing up listening to them has always set that bar for me to want to achieve something that transports people, that brings them in and just takes them out of where they are right now in space and time and just let them be in that music. Yeah,
that was going to be one of my thoughts on when I heard this song. It was like when you hear a good song, it stops you in time, right? And you lock into a song like that. And this is one of those, because even listening to it before, I had a really hectic day prior to coming into the podcast. And for me to be able to just like sit down and totally lock in on a song was it felt really good prior to jumping on.
That's so lovely. Oh, wow. Such a compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so safe to say that we're big fans of the single. And I mentioned that it's been your first one since your essentially your debut album, Sticks, Stones and Stories. It's been a little bit since that release. How has the response of that album been in anticipation of getting the single together and out?
Yeah, well, I'm still kind of playing it pretty small on all the streaming platforms and everything. So it's hard to know. I'm still really in early days. I think these days you've got to have a few releases under your belt before things start to really show a little bit of momentum. So yeah, I didn't really have anything to measure this one against, or again, like no expectations. I have no idea what I'm going into. But the album, it's like I put that out. It's kind of funny. Sometimes I go, why did I put the album out? Because I was 20 weeks pregnant. I knew I wanted to go in and, have my daughter and have a little bit of a break and not force myself to write and create and get back into things. I just wanted to see what happens. So yeah, it was a nice amount of time to really let these songs start forming again on their own. And I'm glad they did, because yeah, it is nice to be releasing music again and feel like myself again after becoming a parent.
Yeah.
I know you, when we were emailing, getting everything set up, you mentioned, and I don't know if you want to dive into it if you're comfortable with it. You mentioned that this song was kind of hard to kind of picture coming from the new parent to back to the artist. Yeah, like how was that transition for you? It's got to be that those are big life things happening. Yeah,
it's so huge. It was a really big transition, and this was my first baby. I had no idea what to expect. I've just seen so many other artists do it, so I thought I'll be fine, you know. And I was. I must say though, there was a period like when you're in the depths of new parenthood, and it's kind of like, you feel so far removed from who you were in your career, and you kind of get the thought process of, will that ever be again? Will I ever be an artist again? Will I ever be anything but a mother? But it's so funny how quickly things turn around. Like a few months, they go by so quick, and just everything starts to gain momentum again. Once you just write one song, it gets the ball rolling. So I love to think about how quickly things can turn around and how quickly things can change, especially when everything feels like it's at a bit of a standstill. I always remind myself, you know, things can turn around really quickly. Just keep moving forward. So yeah, well, as I said, we've talked about this song a lot, but I am so proud that I can put this one forward, this of all songs, after such a big break.
Yeah, I can relate. I'm also, you know, a fairly new father. I have a 3-year-old, so I was able to at least be home. We had him during the pandemic, which was unbelievably scary.
Yes.
And then
Can imagine.
Yeah. And it was that, you know, you get so involved, especially those early months, right? Where you're like, am I ever going to sleep more than 2 hours at a time? Like, is this ever going to change? And, but then, like you said, it goes by in a blink of an eye, and then you compartmentalize that side, because we're expecting our second child now. And I don't even remember any of the stuff that happened prior to that.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it is when Wyatt, our son, you know, got to, you know, a certain age, and I don't know, when he started sleeping more at night, I guess it was that time that I was able, you know, every time he was a baby, I used to play like major scales on guitar. Anytime he'd cry, I would just play major scales on my guitar. And it was like, it was just like he heard music, right? And then secondly, I was like, this is definitely going to benefit him sometime in his life. He's just going to know how to do scales. And then
exactly.
It also kept my fingers, you know, from, you know, softening up, I guess. And
yes.
But it was, you know, there was a certain time where I was like playing only nursery rhymes, and it was, you know, after he was born that I was like, you know what, maybe I do want to start getting out and playing again. And, you know, I was able to work with Ronnie, and we got out. And that first time out after having Wyatt was very different, you know, and scary.
It does. It feels different, but you kind of just, you know, reshape your life around it.
Yeah.
And it's just different. And I think in some way it kind of makes you feel things a little deeper as well.
Yeah.
And makes me, like, I wrote in a really vulnerable way this time. Well, I always do, but I just felt different writing this time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you feel it in the way, you know, when you see, you know, your child and stuff like that, they feel everything at 1,000%, right? If they're really happy, they're really happy. If they're really sad, if they're really hungry, they're really damn hungry.
And it changes so quickly.
Yeah. And so you kind of start to emote that feeling when you're, you know, playing or writing and stuff like that. So yeah, this is super cool. You know, I love talking about kids too.
Yeah. It's such an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
Yeah. So I guess other experiences in life. So what terrible transition, but I like a good transition. You're live shows. So I see you're playing, you know, mentioned a couple of the festivals before, and I see you got a couple of them on your schedule coming up. What is, you know, what could people expect from a live show of yours?
Yeah, so it's really exciting because now I've got two really cool festivals coming up. Buckwild Country Barn Sessions, so that's right up the top of Queensland. That's up in North Queensland. And then Tamworth Country Music Festival. And they're both sets that will include my older stuff and the stuff that I'm writing now and releasing. So it's nice now that I've kind of really built up that repertoire and I really have those stories to tell. I'm excited to get out and play again and really connect to the audience.
Cool. Yeah, it's you mentioned before too, like earlier in your career that you were doing like cover stuff, and is the live music scene like, is it like bars and you know there's always music being played like in places like that, or is it like specific like music venues?
Yeah, so we've got a few. Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, so we've got a few new venues popping up. So, but pubs and clubs, like so bars and clubs and things have been my main kind of cover gig atmosphere. And I've done cover gigs like 10 plus years. I only stopped a couple of years ago because I realized, I guess, trying to progress as an artist and a singer-songwriter, if you keep doing cover gigs every single weekend, you kind of play small a little bit. I think you need to kind of segue that out and embrace kind of more festivals and more Katie Brooke shows, not just Katie Brooke singing everything that they want to hear, like Wagon Wheel and all those kind of songs, which can really kill the spirit sometimes, you know, when you do cover gig after cover gig. I think they were fantastic and definitely had a place in my career for all those years. Like I became good at just learning songs on the fly and became a good live player, became a really strong rhythm guitarist, and, you know, my vocals benefited from it a lot. But yeah, now I'm definitely trying to focus on festivals and I'd love to, you know, support a bigger artist or someone a little bit more established and learn from them and maybe tour with them. But yeah, it's, you know, it's all a kind of work in progress. It does take a little bit of time to find the right people to work with and the right festivals. Yeah.
Do you play with a full band now?
No, so that's like I have a full band that I can call on, but they play for, you know, other bigger artists. So it can be a little bit tricky to get them. I can usually get them for festivals, but that's something I've got on my list. I'm building my team this year and I've done really well with building a team, but now I really want to start building a band. And where I am situated on the Northern Rivers, there's not a lot of players versus like Brisbane, Sydney, Central Coast and the likes. So yeah, that's something I'll think about, but I'm lucky. Like I think I'm pretty strong solo at the moment too. I can still carry myself and get my songs across in a pretty good way and connect to the audience, but a band would definitely level things up for me.
Yeah. That's interesting that you don't really think about the band aspect of it, that, you know, there aren't 100 drummers down the street and there aren't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that's how me and Brian met. He wanted
that's
a bass
amazing.
player and I was like, yeah, okay, I could do that. But it was, like I would imagine that's probably one of the harder parts of, especially doing your own stuff too, right? Because then, you know, you could find the drummer that'll play Wagon Wheel every night for a month. Yeah. But then they have to learn your stuff and play this.
Exactly. And be equally invested in, you know, as invested as you are in your career and wanting to actually, tour with you, go do those festivals. And I'm lucky my producer, he plays for a bunch of other bigger artists, but he plays most of the instruments on my tracks. So he can kind of play anything and come along. Sometimes I can grab him to come play. But if I could just clone him, because I know he's invested in my music and I know he knows my stuff really well, But yeah, we'll see how that goes the next few years. I'm manifesting it. I'm manifesting a band. So if anyone wants to come share the music.
Yes. So let's actually kind of talk about that / kind of start closing up. So 2023 is pretty much 2 months away from being over here.
Crazy.
Other than putting a band together and getting those players, what do you have anything coming on down the line that you want to touch on? More music, when the next singles are, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I've got a handful of songs, a couple of singles and a few others in the works. So making some really big decisions at the moment as to when they'll be released. We've demoed a couple more. So there'll be probably releases early in the year, and then just deciding whether I want to do an EP or an album or what that will be and what that will look like, which is exciting. And then I've got those 2 pretty big festivals coming up, a part of some really cool lineups, and hopefully I can keep snagging some really great festivals for 2024 and keep creating.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I thoroughly love this song, and then I'm gonna look forward to the next singles. I'll definitely look forward to that album, and then
Thank you.
So
No pressure.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, this has been so cool. I've really enjoyed this chat with you, Katie. And you want to let the listeners know where they can find you online, you and your music?
Yeah, absolutely. So check out my website, which is just katiebrookemusic.com. And I hang out the most on Instagram. So that's just Katie Brooke Music as well. And you'll get a snippet into my everyday life, and you'll see some of our cute little Highland cows here on the farm and all that kind of stuff as well.
Oh, nice. My wife has a huge poster of a Highland cow in our living room. So she.
Oh, I love them. She should follow me.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Katie, I'll piggyback what Brian said. I'm very much looking forward to the next however many years of music releases there are. And yes, Too Far Down will definitely be in rotation for me. And yeah, can't wait to see what the future brings for you.
Thank you so much, guys. It has been such a pleasure to chat today.
Nice.
Yeah. Hopefully your first US podcast experience was fairly easy.
Definitely a favorite. Absolutely.
All right, so that was our interview with Katie Brooke. First and foremost, I think between all the artists we've been talking to lately in the Australia country scene, sounds like we need to get down for this Tamworth Country Music Festival. I think we should put that on our to-do list for 2024.
Yeah, man, it might be a little pricey on my end. I really don't travel without my camper, so.
Yeah, I don't think we can get that across the Pacific. Which way? Yeah, the Pacific.
Yeah. No, man, she was great, and her songs are amazing. You know, she had talked about that writer's retreat she was going on, and you know, Sense has been on it, and you know, ended up taking, I don't know if it was the same thing or maybe it's something different, just kind of following along on her Instagram, but she ended up winning, you know, something for one of her songs, and it's failing me at the moment of which song it was, but I think it was for the one that we listened to there, Too Far Down. And yeah, man, I think she's a great artist, and really looking forward to more from her.
Yeah, absolutely. And Too Far Down definitely deserves any accolades that it picks up along the way. You know, we talked about that vulnerability and you know, kind of just letting the song fall out of her. And yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about her as well. And it's gonna be fun watching her progress.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really fun talking with Katie, and you know, seeing what comes down the line for her. And then, you know, I really like the she was a cowgirl before it was cool type of thing. And so yeah, I mean, anyways, you know, we'd like to thank Katie for coming on Outside the Circle. Be sure to follow her on all of her social media. music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with a track from Katie Brooke, Dreamer's Tired Mind.
Well, I came through like a summer storm, rode my fast horse through the rain, left the desert, caught the freight train, then the wind came. What he do?